in this space, in the space of healthcare, you do not need to have a new rabbit out of your hat every other day, because health never goes out of fashion. First and foremost, we sell more than a billion sachets of in a year. It is what the Cotlers and the David Arcas taught us, which is keep it sharp, keep it consistent, and invest behind your brand. So, what is advertising? The other point. Advertising is all about psychology and knowing exactly what is that trigger and that pulse when you catch the consumer's attention and propel her to make a decision in your favor. So, Sensodyne continues to be the jewel in our crown. It has literally created history.
Hi everyone. You have probably never heard of Haleon in India, but you would almost certainly have consumed one of their brands, most likely Eno, or perhaps its star performer, Sensodyne toothpaste. Or equally, it could have been Crocin or Iodex or Centrum from its large array of brands. The reason consumers don't recognize Haleon is because it was carved out of GSK's consumer healthcare business only in 2022. So while the brands are old, the company is very young. India is one of Haleon's fastest growing markets worldwide. What's working for the company here and how does it intend to take the game forward? Let's ask Anurita Chopra, the Chief Marketing Officer for the Indian Subcontinent. See, Haleon is a very unusual company. Normally, companies are older and brands are younger because a company would typically be older, and there might be one or two brands which are as old as the company, but the others tend to be younger. But in the case of Haleon, it's very unusual because, I mean, just to take the example of, three of your brands which are very well known in India. So I was just checking, and like Centrum is like more than 40 years old. Sensodyne is more than 60 years old, and Eno, incredibly, is more than 150 years old. But Halion itself is only 3 years old, right? So, from a marketing point of view, right, what is it like to have brands which are so well known, but a company which was formed, I think, in 2022? So, what is the challenge there?
Well, it's a great question, Shrikant. And frankly, we've never thought about it this way because
Oh, really?
we are, yes, because we are in the business of selling brands. We are in the business of building consumer brands, and consumers buy consumer brands. They do not really actually, they're not even aware, forget care about, they're not even aware of which parent company really those consumer brands belong to. They are here to solve a problem. We are here to solve a real consumer issue. And when the twain meet, which in our case with master brands like Sensodyne, Eno, Centrum, and many more, we solve
Hmm.
a problem in the consumer's life. Having said that, Sensodyne's journey in India is not even 12 to 13 years old. We launched Sensodyne in India in about 2011-12. Eno, yes, has existed in India for the last 50 plus years, and Centrum is only 3 years young in India. So
Okay.
while it's a global brand, but we formally launched it in India as early as just about 2.5 odd years ago. So I think, long story short, one, they are all legacy brands which belong obviously to what we were previously known as, which is GSK Consumer Healthcare. But we are very, very clear that the consumer buys consumer brands, and yeah, it's good to know that it comes from a house, but it's
Okay.
okay because the brand
Right.
stays the
But
same.
But Anuradha, companies do, I mean, to pursue this question further, companies do spend a lot of money building up their corporate brands, right? And so it creates some source credibility. This brand comes from this company. It's true that the brands you're referring to are very well known in India. At least these are, right? Though you have introduced many others. But then are you saying that the corporate credibility is not such an issue, as much of an issue as people think?
Not so. Let me answer the question in a different manner.
Yeah,
Where
please.
when our entity changed and when Haleon as a consumer business globally uh, took shape. We were part of the GSK family, and the
Correct.
pharmacy business and the consumer business separated. And the consumer business, which is who we are, created a new entity and identity for itself, which is Haleon. And by the way, there is a history to the name of Haleon, which is hale and hearty as a lion.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
that's how the name came into being.
Right.
And we thought, as the leadership team in India, we really did give it a think that, okay, how do we go about building the corporate brand? Because after all, to your point, the experts, the healthcare practitioners, the doctors who actually advocate a lot of our brands, needed to know that, what is this Helion? Who's making these brands, these products, these
Correct.
molecules? And so in the course of the last 3 years, we've spent a significant time with our expert field force who goes out and meets these doctors and details our products. They've spent some considerable time building awareness of Helion as a corporate name, because to your point, that responsibility, that safety, the quality assurance is what the consumers and the doctors really buy, and the doctors advocate. So it was important for them to know that nothing changes. It's the same organization, the same R&D, the same ethics, the same quality that's going behind the same brands, the brands you've loved and adored for all of these years. It's just that the name, the corporate name is changing. And similarly, I think the important piece is government relations, industry bodies, employees.
Mm.
When an employee carries a name, that employee should, in her family and friend circle, should know that, oh, yeah, I work with Haleon. Who Haleon? Well, it's GSK Consumer, which is now known as
Correct.
Haleon. Slowly but surely, that name is building credence. Today, far more people are aware of it. But as I said earlier, that the consumer is first and the consumer
Ah,
is king or queen, and she buys trusted brands
the
from
brand.
Haleon.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So you have a diverse portfolio, okay, and so you are in oral health, in pain relief, in digestive health, right? In categories such as this, how much commonality is there in terms of the consumer? Is it the same consumer, similar consumers at different points in time, right? Or is the distribution similar? I mean, are there synergies in this, or how do you look at it? Are these three entirely different portfolios and I mean, there's one parent company, but all of them operate separately, or are there synergies actually?
Great question, Shrikant. That first and foremost, we are in the business of offering everyday health solutions. So, first and foremost, at a very macro level, we're very clear that it is about everyday consumer health issues. It is something that you can
Okay.
solve for on your own. If at all it is a serious enough health issue, then we actively, obviously, do recommend that you have to visit an HCP or, of course, go through the examination. These are everyday issues. Talk about tooth sensitivity, talk about acidity, talk about regular aches and pains and joints, or a nasal issue, etc., or vitamin deficiency. So, yeah, these are four businesses really, which is oral health,
Right. Correct.
digestive, pain and respiratory, and vitamins, minerals, and supplements. So the common piece is everyday health issues. The common piece is the common consumer, because every single consumer will have a bout of acidity, might suffer. One in two people suffer from tooth sensitivity. That's a significant population in India, which we do know. Every single consumer will go through a bout of pain, some nasal issue, vitamin deficiency, calcium deficiency. Our job here is to educate the consumer that, look, this is a problem that you should solve. You can and should solve. Don't live with it. It's not worth it. And from a synergy perspective, therefore, it's all about cohorting. In today's world, we don't operate as one single consumer base. Of course, as you midlife, your incidents increase, but it's not so that the young people of India who are, having different lifestyles, they travel a lot, they eat out. Trust me, earlier maybe they didn't have these many acidity issues, but today they do. The
Yeah.
coffees and teas that you have, the juices that you have, by the way, it's not great for tooth sensitivity.
Oh, really?
So it is absolutely citric
Okay.
juice. Lime juice is the sure shot recipe to get into tooth sensitivity. So you might want to
Oh,
advise the friends and family
really?
around
Okay. All
yourself.
right.
There you go. So yeah, it's getting younger, but more importantly, today's consumer brands focus on cohorts because it's not just age wise, it is also attitudes, it's also the kind of life you're living: urban India, mid India, rural India, your affordability, your affluence, the way you've grown up, how important is health in your life. And it's easy today to target these different cohorts. So there are synergies in that sense because it's everyday health. There are synergies in distribution because the bulk of our channel is a significant part of our channel plays with chemists. But we're also there in groceries, more than 4.5 million outlets with Eno. We also go to modern trade significantly, and decom is emerging as a significant play in our portfolio because today's consumer also does not want to wait it out. She wants the solution today and now. So
So
there's
you
huge
said quick
synergy.
com, right? Quick com.
Both
Yeah.
Amazon, Flipkart, but also Quickcom, because you'll be surprised. We actually thought that maybe say vitamins and minerals is not the need of the hour. You don't need it immediately. Maybe you will wait it out. Surprise, surprise. The consumer wants it now because I think the whole instant piece is the one which is offering instant gratification. So we are channel agnostic. We are where the consumer is. Groceries and chemists and Montrade is here to stay, but the new kid on the block definitely is decom stroke quickcom, and that's serving well to our portfolio as well.
Could you give me some other
Hmm.
examples of unusual segments that exist for your different brands, and which we would not normally imagine that they would be consumers of those brands?
Well, there are enough and more examples
I'm sure.
actually. So, yeah. Let me talk about, since you talked about toothpaste right now, and I happen to mention that the youth cohort is the interesting one.
Correct.
Similarly, brushing. Maybe a few years ago, a brush is a brush is a brush. And you'd not even remember that you need to change your toothbrush. But you would go to an outlet and remember, when you would see them on the, countertop, you'd remember, Ki, acha, chalo, give me a
Correct.
brush also, time to go for a change. Or you'd go to a Montrade outlet and see those aisles with the brushes, pick up
Hmm.
a family pack. But with Sensodyne, what we've also done is starting to educate India that you must soft brush, because Indians have this habit of really brushing hard. It's like you brush hard and you feel that if you've really cleaned your teeth and it's shining, that means you've really cleaned your teeth well.
But you know
Well,
what? I would say parents are responsible for this. It's like jute
you're right.
giso and daad giso. It's a bit like that. No, do
Yes,
it
sir.
harder. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I have very bad news for all the parents who are listening to this and everybody who's been ignorant, that
Rushing hard.
actually, when you're brushing hard, you are eroding your outermost layer of your teeth, which is called enamel,
Correct.
and which is slightly yellow, by the way, in
Hmm.
color.
Hmm.
But people
Oh,
feel that, if you
you want
remove
to
that
get rid
and
of it.
yeah, but once you erode your enamel, you've actually exposed the inner layer, which is dentine, and that is the first step of getting into tooth sensitivity. So what we, by the way, recently we saw that globally we have a wonderful product called Sensodyne Intronamel, which is what literally in the last 2 weeks we've launched and brought into India. Our job is to educate Indians exactly this: that listen, don't erode your enamel. Now, whether that is with the right brushing or whether that is with the right paste, which is why it's good to use soft brushes. So, slowly but surely, we've driven that education, and today, a consumer actually makes a decision that I want a soft brush. And
Correct.
normally, 9 times out of 10, she chooses Sensodyne because of the equity that Sensodyne has. I'll give you another example from maybe Centrum, where our hypothesis was that the woman will buy the vitamins for herself and for her family.
Hmm.
So we've got a range of portfolio of multivitamins for women, for men, for kids, and for seniors, which we call adults. You would have seen these Centrum Silver, which would have
Correct.
come into India long ago. But of course, our formulations are geared for Indian bodies. And our hypothesis was that the woman will buy it for herself and for the rest of the family because she's the caregiver, the nutrition
That's
provider
true.
for the family, etc. Well, we've got a D2C site, and so we can cut the data whichever way that we like. Surprise, surprise. The woman is buying for herself, the guy is buying for the rest of the family.
How is that?
Yes, so the
What
women are
explains that?
buying.
Hmm.
The simple explanation is that the woman is treating this as a health and well-being product for herself, just like she buys a
Correct.
lot of personal care.
Correct.
uh, and so the belief is that I'm doing this for myself so that I'm giving myself the right energy and immunity, because then I can be myself, the whole of myself, to back to myself and my family. But the younger guy or the middle-aged guy
Hmm.
is believing that he is doing something finally something for the family. And while he can't really cook in the kitchen or contribute to the household chores in all that sense,
Oh, really?
but this is his contribution, that listen, I'm doing this and this is my a gift for my wife, my kids. So it's working
Wow.
exactly the other way around, but look
That's how
what data
crazy.
throws up. Yeah.
That's so unusual,
Yes, so it's
unexpected.
very fascinating. The consumer's changing, attitudes are important to understand, because then you design and develop not just your portfolio, but your go-to-market and your consumer cohorting, your messaging, everything then flows accordingly. So it's pretty fascinating time.
Yeah, it is. So, Devi, when the brands that you market, I mean, if you look at from a consumer point of view, they're just like any other consumer brand. I mean, you don't, a consumer would not think OTC. I mean, okay, he picks it up from the chemist, he could pick it up somewhere else. So but it is an OTC brand, right? Are there certain guardrails that you have to employ as opposed to just marketing plain FMCG brands?
Well, first and foremost, it's an excellent question because we stand behind our science. So, first and foremost, what goes behind and what goes out is something that we are supremely cautious about. There is
Okay.
never anything that we let out of our stable and our house unless we are doubly, triply sure it's been tested and retested in terms of efficacy, in terms of safety norms, in terms of standards. Internally we joke about it that it could clear all external standards, but we are absolutely sure this will not clear our internal standards. Now, the point is, yeah, because I think we come from a very, it's a good place of caring for the consumer and placing the consumer at the center. That at no point do we want to be in a position where we cannot stand behind our science. So, one is that, and the second piece is the claims that we offer. For example, Eno has this awesome claim of starts acting in 6 seconds, which
Correct.
is by far the most important thing that a consumer wants when she's going through a bout of acidity. Just solve the problem and solve it really quick. Yeah,
How old is this line, the 6 second line?
it's more than 35, 40 years old.
Oh, it is.
Uh,
Okay. All
and
right.
and the point is that it's stuck on. So that's the other thread of it, that in this space, in the space of healthcare, you do not need to have a new rabbit out of your hat every other day, because health never goes out of fashion. You just need to make sure that your claims are getting and your science is getting better and better and laid out for the consumer to understand, because she needs her problem solved, and she needs her problem solved quickly. If
Correct.
that's what you're here for, and you keep it
Ah,
very clear and the center pin of your existence, and that goes behind in terms of your product innovation as well, to give her superior benefits, and as long as she gets those benefits very clearly on your packaging and in your material, you're home. So that's the slight difference between FMCG and healthcare, that
okay.
we standing
Okay.
even more behind our products because
Yeah,
it's
sure.
health.
Okay. Since you brought up culturally, a lot of things have changed. People eat out a lot, right? In the old
Yeah.
days, you just had the sachet, घर पे pada rehta tha, and you knew which drawer it was. If you had a little upset, you do it, right? So I noticed that you're trying to change now the formats, right? Because people eat out a lot, they could end up with acidity outside in a restaurant, in a fair, anywhere else. So could you tell me a little about that, about how you had to change your approach on because the way in which the urban Indian lives is changing. So that's very
Mm.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. And first and foremost, we sell more than a billion sachets of in a year. More than
In
1 billion. Yeah.
in India.
In India, in India, in
My
India.
goodness, that's a lot of sachets. Wow.
That's a lot of sachets, which speaks a lot about the fact that yes, Indians on an average go through 4 bouts of acidity that they treat with in 1 year. Yeah, and I'm really averaging it out. There are
Yeah,
people
sure.
who go over higher issues of acidity, etc., etc. But I'm really averaging it out with the mass of India, considering we have 1.5 billion, and I just told you that actually, yeah, more than a billion sachets a year. So
Okay.
now, given that, so first and foremost, that stays and that's growing. So that talks about the power of this one formulation and literally the cultural embedding that has happened with which is part of any household in India.
Correct.
Uh, yeah, they don't know actually that it's a global brand. So the good news is
I
that
can imagine.
is treated like an Indian brand because it's loved and
Correct.
it's been part of the kitchen cabinet for decades. Having said that, to your point, we recognize that today's consumer is mobile, and she obviously cannot, carry a sachet and mix it. And also, the other code is that of social embarrassment. You do not want to admit that you're having an acidity issue.
Okay.
Yes. So you're eating out
That's
in a
true.
restaurant.
That's true. Yeah.
Exactly. So therefore, the concept of something that we launched very recently, a couple of years ago, which is Chewy Bites, which is really it's a a pop in. You just pop it in your mouth and you chew it, and yeah, in very soon, in a matter of a few minutes, that you'll feel the relief. But recognizing this, that today's consumer is mobile, today's consumer wants convenient options at the in the blink of an eye. She wants it in her hand. So the idea is to keep building your core and stick to your core, but also build on top with innovations that are relevant to today's changing consumer, which is true for frankly any category, any industry. If you do not innovate, you're going to be
True.
innovated out.
But Anurita, tell me something. We are so. I was just thinking about, in my own family, and when you said, everybody thinks of it as an Indian brand, and it's a fact. You just never think about it. It's always there, right? The
Mm,
only thing is, I suppose, which is also a marketing challenge, which is that when you want to use it, you may discover it has expired, and now
mm,
you should have checked and gone and got another pack earlier, right?
mm, mm,
But when you change the format, right? Is it
mm,
do consumers easily accept a chewable option because they must be so used to this powder, right? Cutting that's also a ritual, cutting or tearing the
mm,
sachet, putting it in
mm,
water. It's part of the
mm,
ritual, right? So is it
mm.
easy for them to accept a chewy bite?
Yeah, it's so you're right, Shrikant, that it doesn't come easy, which is why I made the point earlier of the size and scale of the core business. And
Correct,
that's not going away in a hurry. And that is important for everyone to know and recognize and continue to invest behind because there's still huge scope for growth and opportunity and help people solve their acidity issues on
correct,
a ongoing basis. So for the younger consumers, let me put it this way, that the younger consumers are far more amenable to, trying out different products, different formats, experimenting, and for them it's an easier migration. But the brand must consistently put investment behind stretch. These are stretch opportunities when a brand is going into new adjacent spaces, and take time to make the consumer aware. Try. You must solve the problem And slowly but surely, you see the trial getting converted into repeat, and you know that you've got a business model going. But it does take time, effort, consistent focus to educate the consumer that, look, your loved, in this case, Eno, is now also there in a different format
And also, it's one more thing. I mean, instead of reminding them to keep Eno in the home, now you're trying to remind them to keep it in their purse or
in their
wallet or
bag.
whatever, right? In their bag.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, moving to another very popular brand of yours. Now, Sensodyne, is it success? I mean, I've watched it over the years, and it's really remarkable how it has, gained market share. And you would have thought that this is a niche and will stay in that niche. Now, has it grown so large because Indians especially have a problem with sensitivity, or does it have this kind of market share? I don't know the exact market share just now, but is it that even in other markets, let's say more developed markets, it has a similar market share in dental creams, or how does it work? How does it work? Why is it such a big area?
Great question. And yes, the journey of Sensodyne in India is pretty much a case study for Haleon globally as well.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
First, yes, yes, because of the pace with which we've grown.
I know.
To say yes, yes. Well, there are strong markets in the world. US is a very strong market for Sensodyne globally. And Sensodyne does well, very, very well in Europe as well, and many other pockets of Asia, including Japan, Korea. Huge, huge opportunity. China is doing well as well. Yeah, Middle East does very well too. So Sensodyne's success is global. India's success for Sensodyne is a case study because of the pace, the growth, the size that we've achieved, such that we are pretty much in the top circuit for the contribution of Sensodyne globally. We are that big now, yeah, pretty much in the top three.
So
So
what
yes.
explains this good success? Yeah.
Yes. So first and foremost, no, it's not peculiar to India. One in two people suffer from tooth sensitivity globally, and
I
that's
mean,
normally
they always have.
they
I
are,
mean, this is a
yeah. So
historical fact.
with yes, with age, you get these micro holes in your teeth, which exposes your dentine to cold and hot fluids or extremely sweet and extremely sour things to eat. And when your nerve is exposed and that hits the nerve, it's a sensation that goes right into, literally,
Okay.
it's really, really troublesome. Now, having said that, with the foods that I mentioned earlier and the juices, etc., teas, coffees, etc., that's only aggravating. Now, the point is that nobody knew in India, and I can speak for India, people didn't know what sensitivity was. We coined the word janjanahat. And then we have spent these
Okay.
last 11, 12 years educating India that, look, this condition is sensitivity. And we have, I think, the single biggest piece in the Sensodyne model is its consistency. So we initially educated India with genuine practicing dentists. And now it is genuine, authentic consumers. We go to a huge amount of trouble to find genuine consumers because the pain that a genuine consumer feels is evident in the expression that she gives us when we are shooting. It can't be faked. And so that feeling is what consumers resonate with. We've consistently invested behind the brand such that people get frequently reminded that, oh, this is the pain that I suffer from, and I must do something about it. Of course, the product is awesome. What we've also done is partnered with healthcare practitioners, dentists. So we go to more than 70,000 dentists across the country. We advocate the science behind it, and they understand the science behind Sensodyne, and they advocate Sensodyne as well. But cut a long story short, Shrikant, it is truly out of a marketeer's or a business book. It is what the Cotlers and the David Arkers taught us, which is keep it sharp, keep it consistent, and invest behind your brand and make sure that your positioning is really, really sharp.
Could you give me some sense, like you talked about a billion sachets of could you give me some
Mm.
sense of the Sensodyne size in any measure using any currency, as it were, whether it's units, tons, whatever market share, whatever. Just give me some sense.
Well, let me put it this way that we're touching double-digit market share in a
That's it.
fairly huge category.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, it's still growing quickly,
Rapidly,
rapidly.
much more rapidly than anybody else in the category.
Tell me one thing. When when somebody has sensitivity, like you talked about education, right? But Indians can be quite stoic. Maybe so are other people, but Indians can be. अभी ऐसे उम्र के साथ होता है, you live with it and you say it's okay. What is the point that tilts them over to finally say, because people don't change their toothpaste easily, older people certainly don't,
Oh yeah,
right?
you're right.
They're very reluctant and what is this thing, etc. So what is is it finally the discomfort that tilts them or something else? Or just
Yes.
advertising? What?
No, quite a combination actually, Shrikant. So, what is advertising? We want to point. Advertising is all about psychology and knowing exactly what is that trigger and that pulse when you catch the consumer's attention and propel her to make a decision in your favor. So you're right. A habit of a toothpaste was actually the most difficult nut to crack because it's the first taste that you're used to when you wake up in the morning.
Exactly. I am aware of that. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was a very difficult habit to break for people to reconsider. And what, as I said, that I think when we started out, we really wanted to figure what would make a consumer reconsider. So first, it was important to give her condition awareness that look, this is called Jhanjanahat, and talk
Right.
to her in her language. So whether it was called Shishir in the east of India, whether it was called Jhanjanahat, we went around all of India to figure what is it that people call this tingling sensation when hot tea and cold water starts bothering them. What do they call it? And we spoke back in our advertising using that language. Cultural nuances. So we shoot in about 9 to 10. We actually shoot. We don't dub or edit. We get real
Okay.
consumer words, so that authenticity came. But having said that, what really worked for us is it wasn't just the dentist copy at that point in time, but also what we call the faces campaign. So you will recognize, I think, when you would have driven by, this face of a
Yeah.
woman who, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Everyone recognizes. Digitally, we would have met you. Outdoor, you would have seen this. In print, you would have seen this. It is all about reminding you that this feeling, and that's what worked for us. It was a combination of rational and emotional, making sure that you recognize that this feeling that you feel every time your hand reaches out to a cup of steaming hot cup of tea or a cold water glass, it's called sensitivity, and really you can
Okay.
solve it. But what
Okay.
really worked was one important juncture when we said, look, if you ignore it, it will get worse, because people
Right.
thought it'll go away. That's what got people to sit up and take notice that, oh my God, you're telling me that this will only get worse. The
Yes.
severity is what alarmed them. That, listen, I don't want to, over time, we've of course evolved this story, educating more and more about how many things are going to let away from your life.
Right.
So it's evolved, but the first turning point was when we said this.
Okay. So Anurita, how has your view of the use of media, different media, how has it evolved over the last so many years? And how has your media mix changed?
Very much in favor of digital.
Of course.
Um, yes. So we recognize that today's consumer is a multi-consumer. A few years ago, you did your TV and your print and a little bit of
Now you're
outdoor and
talking across brands, right? Across
across
brands.
brands. Across brands. It has nothing to do with premium brands versus mass brands. It has nothing to do with urban brands versus rural brands. It has
Nothing to
nothing
do
to
with
do
age of the
with
consumer.
age. Nothing to do.
Like
Nothing
Sensodyne
to
is very often used by older people, right? Still digital
do.
works better?
Absolutely. I cannot say better, Shrikant. I will not qualify it as better or worse. It's just that it has to be a complementary strategy. It has to be TV. TV plays a certain role in terms of mass reach and scale, and a certain kind of impact that you want to create, a certain kind of stature that you want to build. But
Okay.
digital is when you drive engagement. Digital is when you drive a lot of topicality, a lot of, today influencer is also an important component of the work that we do because it builds different threads of conversations. Today,
What kind of influencers would you use and for which brands? I mean, are they
across all brands,
locals? Are they regional? What are they?
across all walks of life. So, for example, we could be using health experts, we could be using fitness enthusiasts, we could be using people who are fond of different eating different foods. So it totally depends on the angle that you want to take and the message that you want to send out. But food could be a common thing between and Sensodyne.
Correct.
Yeah, because in the case of both, you do enjoy your food, but something comes in the way.
Yeah.
uh, uh, Regarding Centrum, it is all about education of why you need vitamins in the first place, why it builds immunity, why it builds energy, why your daily diet is not enough. So there's so much to be done that you demystify it and you bring conversations with all kinds of influencers who have an authority to be able to talk about health. With you can have a little more fun because you get into festivities, you get into
Correct.
weddings when people overeat. But more or less in health, you prefer sort of having more educative. But that also you can have fun with fitness enthusiasts, practitioners, nutritionists,
Correct.
health
Okay.
advisors. It works. It works.
But okay, I have one question about innovation because I think you've tried different formats. Like the one was the one I'm familiar with, but I'm sure you've tried
Yeah.
many other things. So in your years, with the company and with these brands, which was probably preceded even Haleon's formation, what are the what are the innovations that you're proud of, or you say, this was a standout one? It could be in any form. It could be product. It could be in some, engagement with consumers. Any something different that you tried because you've got a very interesting variety of brands. So,
Yes, yes, it's an awesome portfolio, and I think we all feel proud about making a difference in people's lives,
mm,
in a good way. Having said that, I think the two that strike out to mind are, one is Centrum Recharge, which is a sachet with a powder. You take that powder and you put it in a glass of water, and it's an orangey sort of a drink, except that
okay,
it has no sugar. It tastes
all right,
awesome, no added sugar, and it's full of vitamins and minerals. So you have a glass of it, you've gone for a walk and you come back, and either you have a glass of water or you have, nimbu pani or something to refresh yourself. But here is a sachet priced at, by the way, just 10 rupees.
okay,
And we've just launched it last summer, but this is the year when, as the new early summer kicks in, we are going to be, of course, ramping it up. But you have a glass loaded with vitamins and minerals, and as many people who've tried it have just come back to us and said, listen, I just feel instantly energized. And
well,
that's such
that's
a
good.
wonderful product, because in $10, and or if you're getting a feeling a dip around 4 o'clock and you want to just revive yourself, it's a
Ah,
great way of democratizing vitamins. The other one,
okay,
actually, I think the other one that was coming to my mind were two, frankly. One is an activation, since you said that, listen, it needn't be a product. It's what we call
mm,
chill test. So if you go to a modern trade outlet, um, chances are that you will, as you go into the aisle where toothpaste are there, a promoter of Sensodyne will greet you there. She will be wearing a white coat and she will be trained well. But her approach would be that, sir, would you like a glass of cold water? Are you feeling thirsty? Chances are you'll
that's a
say
trick.
yes. But the point is that she's carrying a set of glasses and a bottle of cold water,
That's clever.
and
That's very clever.
yeah, exactly. And of course, you'll have the cold water. Now, trust me, a person who's suffering from tooth sensitivity will die 1,000 deaths before having that glass of cold water. And a person who does not suffer from tooth sensitivity or has a mild sufferance will still go for it. Either which ways, the point is you've opened a conversation. The point is that you've got an engagement going. And we do know that every time a consumer is engaging with this promoter, we do have literally outlets with a 20% higher conversion. So that's a winning actually case study, which is known across the world that India innovated this, that it is such an easy conversation opener and it drives education and conversion.
So you do this typically in the summer? Is it season related,
No,
this program? Huh? No.
not really. All through the year, because sensitivity is, I mean, it's agnostic of season. Frankly, sensitivity increases a little during winters.
So I thought
So
you might offer hot tea in the winter and cold water in the summer. No?
that's too much. The last thing we want is people scalding themselves with hot tea. So we keep it very, very safe, which is a bottle
Okay.
of cold
All right.
water. Yeah. So
Okay. Now, just for my last question, which is that when you look at Haleon's growth in the coming years, let's say over the next 2, 3 years, where do you think the bulk of the growth is going to come from?
great
Uh,
question. That the first is, look, we've continued to play to our strengths. So Sensodyne continues to be the jewel in our crown. It has literally created history for Sensodyne's footprint globally, how critical India is to their journey. And so we have huge ambition and expectation, and frankly, we know that the strategy is panning out. So if our trajectory continues the way we are growing and the way the category is growing, we know that we're going to be pretty much the biggest player in a few years from now.
Biggest
uh,
player in toothpaste.
in toothpaste.
Wow. Really?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's a core priority for us. Centrum, we feel, is a huge opportunity because Indians, by definition, are vitamin deficient. Vitamin B12 and
Yeah,
vitamin
correct.
D is, sadly, we are a hot, sunny country, and yet all of India is vitamin D deficient because we're spending most of our time sitting inside homes. We are calcium
Yeah.
deficient as well. So it's time for India to understand that, look, you can have your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and good nutrition, but it's just not enough. And that's why you feel low energy or you have low immunity. So start having vitamins on a daily basis, not just when you're recovering from a bout of illness. It's on a daily
Correct.
basis supplementation. And then the Eno is anyways everyone's heart.
Yeah.
So that's a part of the kitchen cabinet and will continue to be. And the last but not the least, I think pain and respiratory, where there's so much stuff happening on Otrivine. You'll soon see some work that we're doing on pollution.
Okay.
But here as well, the point is that you have a nasal spray. In a few seconds, you feel the relief. Why bother with getting into a complicated solution and struggling with your cold and flu? Instead, take it easy. Take the spray, even if you're sitting in office, it'll take a few seconds. You're breathing freely, you're breathing easily. So our job is to, of course, expand that. IRX has got into really nice new need states like muscle care. When if you're standing for
Mm-hmm.
many, many hours, your calves of your legs start hurting. So it's nothing to do with sprains and
Oh,
aches.
oh,
So
really?
that's
Is that right?
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So quite a
Okay.
few innovations, but leveraging the new India, understanding what the new India lives like, and solving their problems. Crocin is another brand. We've just launched something last year, a couple of years ago, called Cough and Throat, which is perhaps something that you might want to just pick up, considering you
Yeah,
have a
I
little.
just had a little, I just had a little picture.
So it's
Okay.
a lozenge. It's a lozenge. It's a cough drop.
Okay. All
But
right.
exactly this, that we are trying to open up brands into spaces which are relevant to the consumer, where the equity of the brand can stretch, and business will come definitely with a
Wonderful.
solid consumer segmentation.
Wonderful. That is good conversation. I mean, I think I'm going to try one or two of these products, I think now. But you
I'm
sold it to me.
glad. I'm glad. I'm good at
Even
conversions.
as I was interviewing you. So, okay. Thank you very much, Anurita. Okay.
Thank you very much, Srikanth. It
Thank you
was
for your
lovely to
time.
talk to you,
Nice
and
talking to you too.
all the best,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
talk
You
to you
too.
soon.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.